So since our precious human life is so difficult to come by and so rare to have, and it has great meaning, and yet in the big scheme of things it's very short, comes and goes, really like a lightning flash. And yet there's so much we can do with it if we really take advantage of it. So it's important to realize this about our life so that we put our mind on what is important and not get distracted by the meaningless activities of this life, by worrying about our finances and worrying about who likes us, who doesn't like us, and who is nice to us and who is mean to us, and whether we have a good reputation or not, whether we're beautiful, handsome or not. All these things that in the big picture don't really matter. We tend to waste a whole lot of time fretting about. And in the process, really, waste the precious little time we have. So it's important to really discriminate between what's virtuous and what's non-virtuous, what's worthwhile and what's not. And every day, every moment, put our mind in a good direction, especially putting it into the direction of bodhicitta, so that our life becomes really meaningful by aiming for full enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. So if we think about it, we really do waste a lot of time, don't we? Aside from a third of our life being spent sleeping and just gone, if we look at the thoughts we have during the day and what our mind goes to and how much we worry about things, how much we get stressed out, how anxious we are, and the things that, make us stressed out and anxious and worried and fearful are really so stupid in the long term and in the big picture. When you think about that, with this life we have the chance to really set ourselves well on the path to liberation and enlightenment and stop rebirth in the dreadful lower realms. That we can do that. And yet, instead, we get really irked because somebody was rude to us. I don't like the way that person talked to me. I don't like the way they said. They never respect me. Nobody ever respects me. This is terrible. All these people are so rude. No wonder I'm so miserable, because I live with these people who are so rude. On and on and on. So much time, so much energy, put into thinking like this, And then worry, well, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to get these people to be nice? Let's see, I could complain to that person because that person has power over this. Maybe they can get that person to be nice to me. But then maybe that won't work, and maybe I should address this person directly and tell them this is the way they should treat me. And should I use a very ferocious form because I'm really pissed off at them? Or should I use a mild, gentle form and try and convince them? But anyway, I'm going to get my way because I just can't stand the way they're treating me anymore. Does this sound familiar? Is your mind? Does this kind of stuff go on in your mind? Oh, I only see a few people nodding, a few people looking at me like, "What are you talking about?" What are you talking about? I don't do that. You know, if I'm mad at other people, it's because it's really their fault and they're really doing that, and it's serious business and I better take care of it. But wow, you know, it's really sad when you look at our lives that way. You know, so much energy into stupidaggio. Yeah, as if what other people thought about us mattered, or as if what they said about us mattered, as if, you know, whether they smile at us or don't smile at us mattered. You know, when you're on the verge of getting reborn in a horrible rebirth, but none of that stuff, you know, matters at all. You don't have time for it. There's no time to worry about that stuff. Yeah? Because our situation is much more serious, much more grave. You know? And who wants to waste time on that kind of stuff? Yeah? He loves me not. He loves me not. It doesn't really matter when you're dead, he's not there. You know. Okay, so we really, while we have the opportunity, need to be very clear in our mind what is virtuous, what is non-virtuous. And when our mind's going in the wrong direction, stop it, you know. Stop it because we care about ourselves. Because we respect ourselves. Because we want ourselves to be happy. Yeah, we don't want to wind up as the monastery cat, you know. I mean, our kitties have very good completing karma. They live, you know, with enough food and love and everything. But the propelling karma, the throwing karma, that put them in the cat body, you know, they're so close and they're so far away, aren't they? Yeah. So we don't want to, you know, be born in that kind of situation. Yeah. Maybe we're always whining, nobody loves me, I want people to love me. Then, you know, we're born as a cat, then everybody loves us. Yeah? Maitri and Karuna get more love than anybody else at this place, don't they? Yeah, they get constant love. So do we want all of our need for love fulfilled by people, by being a cat at the monastery that everybody loves and picks up and pets and coos and talks baby talk to? or do we want liberation? Yeah? So this is, you know, important to think about. So, we've been on chapter 7, right? Yeah, chapter 7 of Aryadevas, which is how to overcome the attachment to sense objects, because that rules our life and is, you know, a big hindrance to our happiness, and also what makes us create so much more negative karma that produces so many more rebirths. So, verse 158, this verse talks about, it shows that to remain in cyclic existence out of attachment is like insanity. So Joe Blow says, if the wise see samsara like a slaughterhouse, why do ordinary beings feel no horror? Good question. Yeah? Yeah, if the Aryas see it as a slaughterhouse, how come I think samsara is kind of cool, I like the ice cream. I like the movies. I like this and that. Not so bad. So Aryadeva says, if one is insane because one's mind is unstable, what wise person would say that those in worldly existence are not insane? Okay, so our minds are unstable, aren't they? Okay, so that's the definition of insanity. They are not stable. They have no, discernment, correct, discriminating awareness. And so our minds are kind of like a mad elephant. You ever seen a mad elephant? Have you ever been close to an elephant? I mean, they're really big. Yeah, and if you can imagine one of them just being mad and running all over everything, it's incredibly dangerous. Yeah, so insanity is when the mind doesn't function with normal stability. So what intelligent person would claim that those in samsara aren't insane? When we look at samsara and we think it's kind of cool and that there's nothing wrong with being here, no urge to get out, yeah, isn't that kind of crazy? Yeah, compared to what the Aryas see, what the Aryas know with their own wisdom. Yeah. And when you look at what we think, what we think is important, like I was saying at the motivation, the kind of things we think are important are so stupid. That's really insanity. And when we look at our views on things, things are permanent. They don't change. There's a real me that's in danger here. So all these kinds of thoughts of, if somebody's harming me, I have every right to, attack them back and damage them and do whatever I want. Okay, so there's so many wrong views in our mind. Yeah, so it's really like we're crazy. Yeah, sometimes when your mind gets a little clear about, you see a little bit better about how your usual ways of thinking are off the wall, then you really stop and, wow, it really is like I'm a crazy person. I really think this whole thing around me is permanent and stable and secure. That's craziness, isn't it? Yeah. And yet, that's how we see everything. Okay, so ordinary beings want outrageous things, like fame in samsara. Yeah, we speak impulsively, we mistreat others, all with the wrong conception mind, thinking that all of this is going to make us happy. If I get my way, then I'm really going to be happy. But then, it's an interesting meditation to do. Yeah, look at that mind that says, if I get my way, I'm going to be happy. And then do a little reflection and remembrance of all the times in your life when you've gotten your way. Yeah, I got my way here, when I was 7 years old arguing with a friend. And I got my way here when I got a teacher to regrade my test. And I got my way here when I talked my parents into something. And I got my way here. And go through all those times when we've gotten our way. And then say, has it made me happy? What kind of benefit has getting my way brought me in the long term? Yeah, I push and push to get my way, but what actual benefit has it brought me? Well, I got to go to my friend's birthday party when I was 8 years old. You know? You come up with big things like that. That's the benefit of getting my way. I got to go to the birthday party, and you look and you go, that was crazy. Who cared about going to that birthday party? And yet at that time, it's like, I've got to get my way and go to this birthday party. Okay? So it's quite interesting, you know, to really look at these things. And we see that it you know, it is as if we're insane. Mm-hmm. So then, you know, the Buddha is our doctor, leading us to sanity. So we should try and follow the Buddha's teachings instead of saying, but, if, and, you don't understand, I can't do it, I'm not worthy. You know, what do you think about it? To just listen to the Buddha's teachings and practice them. That's all we have to do. And yet our mind makes it so difficult. Oh, I have to practice everything all at once and I can't do that. Ah! Did the Buddha say that? No. Okay. Verse 159. So this is about abandoning polluted karma, which is cause for rebirth in samsara, and advice to abandon actions projecting rebirth there. So abandon the kind of actions that, you know, are the second link of the 12 links of dependent arising that project a rebirth in samsara. So Aryadeva says, the pain of walking, one sees, decreases when doing the opposite. Thus the intelligent generate the intention to end all karma. Okay, or to end all action. It makes more sense to say to end all karma. Yeah. So the pain of walking, one sees, decreases when doing the opposite. Okay, so when we sit, we're relieved from the pain of walking. Yeah, when we walk, we're relieved from the pain of sitting. Are we talking about here? Yeah, the dukkha of change. Okay, so the wise liberate themselves from samsara, which is governed by this kind of polluted karma. In other words, karma created under the influence of ignorance. And they do so by stopping the process of creating polluted karma and by stopping the afflictions that make the polluted karma ripen. Okay? So by breaking the continuity of all the polluted karma, then the dukkha stops. Yeah. Thus the intelligent learn the means to attain nirvana in which all polluted karma projecting samsara has ceased. Okay, so from ignorance comes the afflictions which create the karma to be born in samsara. Okay, when all the actions have all the different parts complete, then it creates a full throwing karma that's capable of generating a new rebirth. Okay, so when we're able to stop the karma by stopping the afflictions, by stopping the ignorance, then the rebirth stops. Okay. Alternatively, we may have a lot of karma in our mind that, you know, could easily be ripened by craving and clinging, the 8th and 9th links. But if we stop the craving by eliminating the ignorance, then that karma can't ripen into and throw us into a samsaric rebirth. Okay? So, for example, the arhats, you know, may have many karmic seeds that could have ripened in a rebirth, but they're never going to ripen because the ignorance has been removed completely. So therefore, the 8th and 9th links of craving and clinging can never arise. Okay? So childish beings are like people on a long trip who suffer because of exhaustion. Okay, so it's like sentient beings traveling the roads of samsara and getting exhausted by it. And they also suffer from the depletion of provisions, in other words, the store of virtuous actions. Okay? So when you think sentient beings are called migrators, we go, from this realm to that realm, from this rebirth to that rebirth. Yeah? And we're suffering from exhaustion and depletion of resources. Yeah? Exhausted by the stress and dukkha of samsara, depleting the good karma that we do have. Okay, so then the line when it says the intelligent generate the intention to end all action, it means the intention to end all polluted karma. Okay, it doesn't mean that the intelligent generate the intention to sit there like a bump on the log and do nothing. Yeah, that's not the meaning of ending all action. It's ending all polluted karma. Okay, then 160 talks about since samsara is a source of fear, we should abandon its cause, which is the polluted karma. Okay, so Aryadeva says, when a single effect's original cause is not seen, and one sees the extensiveness with regard to even a single effect, who would not be afraid? Okay, so the intelligent rid themselves of samsara by stopping this process of creating polluted karma, or by stopping the ripening of the polluted karma. So no one can perceive the original cause of even one single effect. Yeah. So even the effect is, this package of tissues. Yeah. If you look back and you find an original cause to this package of tissues. Now, when you look back, there's so many causes, so many cooperative conditions. Yeah? Because you just take a tissue and, it's made out of wood fiber, isn't it? So who invented tissues? Who made the tissue factory? Who worked in the tissue factory? Who did the planning for how many tissues were going to be made? Yeah. And who transported the wood fiber there? And who invented tissues to start with? I don't think the cave people had them. Yeah. And who cut down the trees, and then who did whatever was necessary to the trees to get the fiber? And who transported the trees? And anyway, who planted the trees? And that tree, came from a seed, which, came from another tree, and which came from a seed, which came from another tree. And so where do you see the beginning of the tree? And anyway, the tissue isn't due to just one tree, it's due to many trees. So how many, when you start looking back like that, any single effect has so many different causes. Yeah? So when you think that everything's conditioned like that, then everything feels kind of weird, doesn't it? It feels like a little bit unstable, like at any moment, any conditioning factor could change, and then everything is going to change. And that you can't really understand where it all happened, and that what is happening now is almost like an accident because there's so many different possibilities with all these different causes and conditions. But how did this one happen? Yeah. So it and then you think of your mind and all the causes and conditions of your mind. Yeah. One moment of mind producing another moment of mind. How we're conditioned by the views of society and our family. How we're affected by the objects we think. Just everything that goes into making up one single experience or one single action. And it really feels kind of like, wow, there's no control here. There's just too many causes and conditions to keep track of. Yeah? And so, when you think that there's a beginningless continuity, then the whole thing is really quite amazing. Yeah. So when we realize that even a single effect has a limitless number of causes, what childish person wouldn't be afraid? Yeah, when you think of all the different causes that went into making this, and how did all of these come together, and how everything, each individual cause, is a conditioned phenomena. There's no controller in any of this process over any of these causes and conditions. There's no independent controller. Okay, so therefore we should always feel aversion towards samsara and strive to liberate ourselves from this vast wilderness of samsara that is made difficult to cross by the thickets of ignorance that fails to comprehend even its own continuity. Yeah, because our ignorance can't even comprehend the continuity of ignorance. Okay, so if you just think of the limitless causes of a pot, then what happens when you think of the limitless causes of our lives in samsara? Everything we've experienced before. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, up, down, across, everything. Yeah. Okay, so who wouldn't be afraid? So this kind of fear that Aryadeva's pointing us to is a wisdom fear. It's not a panic fear. It's not a fear. It's a, oh wow, I never saw this before. I need to be careful. This is a serious situation. Yeah, that kind of awareness of danger. Okay, so when it says afraid or fear, don't think of panic fear. Think of, when you're really aware of danger and your mind is very clear about that. Yeah, you're not freaked out. You're just like, oh, wow. Okay, have you ever had that kind of mental state before? Yeah? Think about that. Have you ever experienced that kind of mental state in your life? Yeah, a wisdom fear that's like, oh, there's danger here, and I need to be really careful, and I need to be smart. Not a self-grasping, like, what's going to happen to me fear? But just, a real clear seeing of the situation. Okay, 161 talks about cultivating the fear or the awareness of danger, considering the effects of polluted karma. Okay, so here's how we cultivate that awareness of danger that's going to lead us to renounce cyclic existence and have the aspiration for liberation, which will lead us to putting energy into realizing emptiness in order to liberate ourselves. So Aryadeva says, since all results will not definitely be achieved, and those that are will certainly come to an end, why exhaust yourself for their sake? Okay, so making effort to get objects of attachment would be worthwhile if it were sure that we could attain what we're working for. Okay? So working for objects of attachment would be worthwhile if we could definitely be sure that we could get them. Okay? And two, after we got them, if they would never decay, then working for objects of attachment would be worthwhile because we could get the things that we like and they would never go away. But all we have to do is look at our own experience that even though we work hard in samsara to get the things we're attached to, there's no guarantee that we're going to get them. Yeah, there's a lot of hindrances. We have to work very hard. We get totally exhausted sometimes. When you think that, like when our mind is really stubborn and like, I want that. And I'm going to, like a dog that bites and isn't going to give up. I want that. Okay? And how hard we work, to have that relationship, to get that social status, to get that kind of power, to win the argument, to prove we're right, whatever it is. And yet, are we always successful, even though we exert so much energy in trying to get that? No. And then, so you make many examples of that in your life. Then, second step, is you think of all the times when you did get what you wanted. I had that relationship. I had that social status. I had that acknowledgement. I had that love. I had that appreciation. I had that artistic ability. I had all the time to do whatever it was that I so wanted to do. I really got it. And then say, did that satisfy me completely? Did it give me total happiness? No. No. I succeeded in changing the Abbey's schedule to be what I wanted to be. Finally, I worked all these years to make meditation 15 minutes shorter in the morning and 15 minutes longer in the evening. And I finally did it, and now am I happy? No, because I'm falling asleep in evening meditation, because it's 15 minutes longer. Yeah. Finally changed that beep, beep, beep schedule. Yeah. And I'm still miserable. Yeah. I finally convinced the cook to put in more oil or less oil. Finally, she did it. More oil, less oil, whatever it was I wanted. Then, yeah, still not satisfied, still not happy. Okay? So, I think that this is quite what he's saying here. If it would be worthwhile to go out of our way to get at objects of attachment, if one, we were sure to get them, and two, if we were sure that they would never disappear and bring us the happiness we want. But even if they make us happy in the first moment, they decay in the next moment. Don't they? You finally found the right person to marry. And look what he looks like 60 years later. Okay? Okay. So work, like building a wall, or a career, or a relationship, requires effort, but when it's finished, it disintegrates effortlessly. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's 62. We're on 61, aren't we? Okay. So, why exhaust ourselves trying to achieve mistaken objectives? Make an effort to give up the karma that projects samsara. Yeah? And do that by hearing, thinking, meditating on the nature of reality, on dependent arising. Okay, then 62 is considering the nature of polluted karma, make an effort to abandon them. Okay? So here he's really trying to get us to see the seriousness of the karma created under ignorance. Okay? So work done with effort effortlessly disintegrates once it is done. Though this is so, still you are not at all free from attachment to karma, to actions. Okay? So work, like building a wall, a career, a relationship, a reputation, whatever it is, requires effort. But when it's finished, or when we've accomplished it, when we've gotten it, effortlessly it disintegrates. When you think about that, it's just amazing. We have to do so much with effort. And yet when we get what we want, without doing anything, without lifting a finger, it disintegrates, it vanishes. Doesn't it? Yeah? All the effort to build this building, and it's already in the process of disintegration. So we better use it wisely before it falls down. Yeah? But you think about it, things disintegrate effortlessly. We work so hard to keep this body, alive, and yet effortlessly it's aging and falling apart. Don't have to lift a finger to make that happen. But we have to work very hard to keep it alive. Okay? So since you still chase such things, your lack of freedom from attachment to actions shows how foolish you are, says Gyaltsab Je. He's right, isn't it? Yeah, when we chase these kinds of things, it really shows that we're kind of dumb. Okay. It takes effort to put a stone on a mountaintop, but it falls down of its own accord. Yeah, true, isn't it? So that doesn't mean we don't do anything in life. Okay? The fact that things are disintegrating effortlessly doesn't mean we sit there like a bump on a log and say, well, it's not worthwhile doing anything because it's just going to fall apart, so I'm just going to sit here. Okay, that is not what Aryadeva is trying to get us to conclude from what he's teaching. Yeah, what he's trying to get us to conclude is that following objects of attachment does not work to fulfill our purpose of happiness, and it only mires us more in the mud of samsara instead of freeing us and leading us to the joy and happiness that we really want. That's what he's trying to get us to see. Okay? So instead of continuing to create karma that keeps us trapped in samsara, okay, that's the not action part of it. We should be very busy creating the actions that will result in our being free of samsara. Okay? So if you want to be lazy and procrastinate fulfilling all your craving for the 8 worldly concerns. And if you want to be energetic and get something accomplished, accomplish the path. Okay? That's what he's getting us to. Okay, then 163 is about the inappropriateness of attachment to polluted karma on the ground, or polluted actions on the grounds that they call pleasure, that they cause pleasure. Okay, so Joe Blow, our old friend, says, though actions that require exertion perish, we can't free ourselves from attachment to them because they're a source of pleasure. Yeah, so it's true, that the actions that require exertion perish. It takes a lot of exertion to have sex. It takes a lot of exertion to make money. It takes a lot of exertion to go on a cruise. Yeah, it takes a lot of exertion to go to a Red Sox game and watch them win. Yeah, it's just, it takes energy. Yeah, but we can't. So Joe Blow's saying, yeah, sure, that takes energy, but it causes pleasure, so I can't free myself from it. I am bound to the Red Sox. Yeah, chained to the Red Sox. Surely in Amitabha's Pure Land they must have the Red Sox. Kuan Yin is coming to bat with 1,000 arms and 11 heads. Okay. I see a skit there. Yeah, but this is the way our mind is. These things called pleasure. So how can we possibly give them up? I mean, chocolate mint ice cream. How can you relinquish that? Impossible. Some, whatever it is that, gives you your sense pleasure deluxe. How can I give that up? I can't. It's normal. It's natural. Everybody wants this kind of thing. Yeah. I received an email today from a young person saying, I've been brought up, for years to, experiment in adolescence, go to college, get a good education, have a career, get married, raise my family, go on cruises, get a good reputation, do this and that and the other thing. And now I'm wondering if all of that is all made up and actually something that I should engage in. Or is it all just fabricated? But, my whole life I've been taught this. I've been taught this is what is good, this is what is normal. And I've been taught this by people that I love and care for and respect. So how can I possibly give this up? Well, you can possibly give it up because you see that it's useless and it's not going to lead you to happiness, but it will lead you to more misery. That's how you give it up. Okay? So, Aryadeva says, because Joe Blow's saying, I can't give these things up because they give me pleasure. So Aryadeva says, there is no pleasure in relation to either the past or the future. That which occurs now, too, is passing. Why do you weary yourself? Okay? So there's no real pleasure in relationship to past events or past states of consciousness because they're over and done with. Okay? There's no real pleasure in future states of consciousness or future events that cause that pleasurable state of mind because they haven't happened yet. And the present moment of pleasurable feelings and the events that are causing them are decaying in each split second. So, why do you weary yourself trying to get samsaric happiness when you really examine is the pleasure in the past and the present and the future, you can't find any pleasure that is really there. This requires a lot of good meditation. I was thinking, this text really should be the basis of our winter retreat. It's like we do our deity practice and our nundra practice, but we have many sessions just focused on this retreat and, examining these issues in our life. Okay? So, past things are gone, no pleasure there. Future things haven't happened, no pleasure there. Present things are going out of existence in each moment, no pleasure there. So what in the world are we trying to get? And what in the world are we clinging on to? Okay. So, since there is no reliable happiness, why exhaust yourself chasing after it? Okay. To strive for a non-existent effect, such as enduring happiness in samsara, is unreasonable. It's like building a house on a riverbank. Yeah? You build a house on a riverbank, what's going to happen to it? It's going to wash away sometime or another. Why are you surprised when it does? When you've built it there. Okay? So in the same way, to strive for non-existent happiness is just wearying, exhausting ourselves unnecessarily. And it's going to disappoint us in the end, as whatever we've constructed flows away by the waters of karma. Okay, then 64 talks about the actual way to abandon polluted actions. And the first verse here is repudiating attachment to meritorious actions for the sake of high rebirth out of attachment. Okay? So having attachment to having a good rebirth in the future, then creating merit, doing virtuous actions. With that intention, you really want a certain kind of rebirth in the future. Okay? And so within that, the appropriateness of having fear or having an awareness of danger, since the Aryas see even higher rebirths as being like the hell realm. Okay, so verse 164, Aryadeva says, the wise feel the same fear even for a high rebirth as for the hells. It is rare indeed for a worldly state not to produce fear in them. Okay, so Joe Blow, is saying, well, okay, I give up on, chasing the objects of attachment in this life, but we really should perform virtuous activities for the sake of an upper rebirth. Yeah, and that is a Dharma motivation, isn't it? It is a Dharma motivation, and it's better than chasing after the pleasures of this life. And so Joe Blow is advocating this. Look, it's a Dharma motivation. I should really do meritorious actions. Then I'll be rich in a future life. I'll have high prestige in a future life. I'll be very attractive. I'll have a wonderful family life in a future life. So I'll work to create some positive karma now and dedicate it for that purpose in a future life. So Aryadeva says that doing that is really dumb, because for an Arya, somebody who has wisdom, they are just as afraid of a rebirth in a higher realm as they are in a rebirth in the hell realm. Okay? So initially on the path, what we're instructed to do is to develop a sense of awareness of the danger of being reborn in the lower realms. Okay? And they say, okay, then aim for a good rebirth. But when we advance on the path, then they say, don't just aim for a good rebirth, because that's only a temporary stopgap measure. You get some pleasure in your next life, but you exhaust the good karma that causes us, and then after that you're going to wind up down in a lower realm again, or anyway, you're just going to keep revolving in samsara again and again and again, chasing all these things that don't really last in the long run, in the long term. Okay? So, so even those rebirths, the good rebirths that we aim for, in samsara, out of attachment to the pleasure in them, I want to be born in the God realm, sense pleasure deluxe, or I want to be born in the form realm, or you're just in these deep states of blissful concentration. Okay? So those, to the perspective of Aryas, those rebirths are ablaze with the fire of afflictions and shrouded in the darkness of ignorance, because the mind that's created the cause for them still isn't free from ignorance. Okay? So, seeing that produces fear, or produces an awareness of danger in people who are wise. So then they don't just strive for a good rebirth for the sake of having a good rebirth, because they realize that that is temporary, and it's going to vanish too. Okay, so so these people really want to realize emptiness. They, really put their heart in understanding dependent arising. So with fear, the intelligent should consider the disadvantages of samsara and reject accumulating the karma with craving for an upper rebirth. Okay? So instead of craving for an upper rebirth and creating the karma that will lead to that, we should see the disadvantages of also upper rebirths. Yeah? And not get attached to them. Yeah? And not seek upper rebirths, good upper rebirths, simply for the sake of having a good upper rebirth. However, that doesn't mean that we relinquish creating the causes for a good rebirth because we need a good rebirth to attain liberation. Okay? So for the sake of liberation, it's going to take us a while to attain liberation. So we need a series of good rebirths in which to learn the Dharma and practice it and accumulate the causes for liberation, for enlightenment. So, to have that time, we need good rebirths. Yeah. So we can still create the cause for a good rebirth, but with the mind that the ultimate purpose of this good rebirth is liberation or full awakening. Okay. So we're giving up the mind that is seeking a good rebirth just for its own sake. Okay? You clear about that? That's quite important. Okay, then 165. If ordinary, 165, Aryadeva, this is about if ordinary people ever perceived samsara like this, they would immediately faint. Okay, so Aryadeva says, if childish people ever perceived the suffering of cyclic existence, at that moment, both their mind and body would completely fail. Yeah, and I think this is really true. Yeah, if we really saw, if we really got it, what cyclic existence is all about, we would go crazy, And so that's why I think it requires so much purification and so much accumulation of merit to make the mind strong enough to bear seeing what samsara is really about. Okay? So all these Dharma realizations, for an ignorant mind that is attached to the wrong thing, seeing them is so opposite to what we believe and what makes us secure that it would just throw us into pandemonium. So we need to strengthen our mind to be able to bear seeing the truth, to be able to see things as they actually are, even conventionally. Yeah, because it's so opposite from the way our deluded mind, our afflictive mind, sees things. Okay? So if ordinary beings were to directly perceive the dukkha of samsara in the way that the Aryas do, their mind and body would both completely fail. Yeah? It's kind of like, if you really believed in somebody and, you trusted this person so much, and then you found out that they were a great big liar who's been deceiving you for the last 30 years. I mean, imagine how horrified you would be, how confused and betrayed you'd be. Well, kind of understanding what samsara really is, I think would be even more horrifying than that. Okay, so if ordinary beings realize dukkha, but because ordinary beings don't realize it, they continue as if they were happy. So, we don't see what samsara is really about. We don't see what polluted karma brings us. So we're just kind of moseying along. Okay, and if we realize dukkha, we ordinary beings would completely renounce samsara and its causes. Our mind would be so crystal clear about what was important in life and what wasn't, that we would have no more equivocating. No more indecision. Should I do this? Should I not do this? What's going to make me happy? What's going to make me miserable? It's the mind will just be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. Plum. Nothing's distracting me.
I'm not sure if I got it at the moment. Both minds body would completely fail. I'm not sure. I couldn't get that.
Yeah, that if ordinary sentient beings really understood what samsara was, they might have a heart attack on the very spot, because it's so shocking and horrifying for them to see the nature of samsara. Because the nature of, we go through our lives with, samsara is kind of nasty, but it's pretty good also. And I want this and I want that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And if we really saw what it was, we would be horrified. Yeah? And so that's why I said, somebody would just faint out of the shock of it all. Huh? Yeah? Yeah, faint. Completely lose consciousness, completely, be overwhelmed. And, when you think about it, people faint for all sorts of reasons. If you find out somebody you care about died, you can, that same surprise action, and yet we all know that's going to happen. Yet look how surprised we are when it happens. Yeah? So imagine just, if you really suddenly realize the nature of samsara and what it meant. Yeah? Be really horrifying. So that's really why, a lot of purification, a lot of accumulation of merit is important, so that we can really cultivate that awareness and bear seeing that. Other questions? Yeah.
So when I listened to the teaching tonight, I found my mind bouncing from kind of an understanding to going to more of a kind of resisting letting go of things, and then kind of what would arise would be so kind of what's the use, I think. With that. So
Okay.
how do you keep the clarity but not go to the
Okay.
other extreme?
Okay, so you're saying that tonight when you're hearing this, you get some clarity of it, and then you feel your mind resisting it, and just saying, well, if samsara is really so bad, what's the use?
Or more precisely, I understand what to do, but I still find myself not doing it.
Uh-huh.
So then it gets to be kind of so, what do I hold on to keep going?
Yeah.
Because I get discouraged.
Okay, so you see yourself as, okay, I understand this, and yet I'm not really following the Buddha's instructions to abandon non-virtue and practice virtue and spend some time understanding emptiness. So, what's the use? I'm so discouraged because I understand this, but I'm not doing it. So I'm just stupid and incapable, and I'll never get it together. So it's a let's beat myself up party again, isn't it? Yeah? Let's make myself discouraged and tell myself I'm incompetent party.
So what do I apply right then?
Okay. What to apply right then? You look and you say, if you were, drowning in water, would you just, or if you were like in deep water and there was danger of drowning and you felt that danger, would you then say, well, I can't swim, so what's the use? I'm just going to go to sleep here and drown. No, you would fight for your life even if you didn't know how to swim, wouldn't you? Okay? So it's the same way here. You may not know the whole path now, but you still want yourself to be happy. You still want to do something meaningful with your life. So you get energized to do something. You don't just, this is our problem. It's like, if I can't be perfect, I'm not going to try at all. If I can't instantly accomplish something, then I'm not even going to take one step. Okay? Is that reasonable?
It doesn't feel like instantly. I mean...
Well, within a day or two, you'd like to,
Many years I was saying.
Oh, okay, many years. So 10 years. Yeah, okay. So, but, if I can't get enlightened in 10 years...
No, not enlightened. Less affliction.
Okay, so if I can't have less afflictions in 10 years, then I won't even try to have less afflictions. And who cares if the afflictions make me more miserable and bring me more unhappiness? I'm just going to sit there and wallow in them. Because in 10 years, I'm convinced myself that I can't have less of them. Even Barbie wouldn't think like that. Barbie and Ken, Even the Easter Bunny wouldn't think like that. It's like we should really look in our life how that mind of discouragement operates and how we give up before we even start. How we tell ourselves, if I can't do it all perfectly, correctly, completely in a short period of time, then I'm not going to even try, and I'm going to be completely happy to be miserable the rest of my life. Yeah? Now I want you to say that out loud. Yeah. when your mind gets into that discouraged state, you need to come to me and say,
that mind is here.
Yeah, I want you to say, I've decided that because I can't do the path perfectly and completely on the time frame that I would like to do it on, I'm not going to try to do anything, and I'm going to be totally happy being miserable for the rest of my life. Yeah, do you have the guts to come say that to me when you're discouraged? I dare you. Yeah. You've got to come to me. And sincerely, because this is what your afflicted mind is saying. Yeah. It's like, okay, I have a fever. There's medicine to take. But the medicine takes 3 days to work, and I want to be well quicker. And the medicine can't make me well quicker. So I'm not going to take the medicine, and I'm happy to sit here with this fever forever. It's essentially what we're saying. Stupid, isn't it?
It doesn't take into account either where my mind went, rather than when I can catch it, is that I look at where I was 10 years ago.
Yes.
And I say, oh my God, Samke, you've come such a long way from that crazy person you were 10 years ago. So I have to go back and rejoice and pull all of that understanding of where I was, and then use that as my encouragement to say, in 10 years from now, if you continue to be sincere, you're going to be even a different, more wholesome kind of person. Mm-hmm. Don't give up on yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm a testimonial to my own practice.
Mm-hmm. So have you changed in the last 10 years?
Sure.
For the better?
Yeah.
Was it worth it?
Yeah.
So do you want to change in the next 10 years?
Yeah, of course.
Is it worth putting some effort into it?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. So is the mind that says, what's the use, a reasonable mind?
Although that's the same mind that looks back and goes, 10 years, no change.
But that's why your Dharma friends are very helpful, because your Dharma friends can look and say, no, I've seen the change in you. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because when the mind's under that state of affliction, it will do everything to confirm its state of existence.
Right. Yeah, it just gets stuck in that view. Okay, so we need to rely on the Sangha to come to our wits sometimes when our own mind is lying to us. Mm-hmm.